All right, so come to a comfortable seat wherever you are. Sukhasana, full lotus. If you want to levitate, that's fine. And we're going to bring our hands together, maybe have a couple wiggles and wriggles. Roll your shoulders. Feel your heart, your breastbone lifting up towards your thumbs as your hands push together. We can feel our body here on the ground, but notice that we're so stretchy that we can reach up to the stars all around the planet, out to outer space and back again. And let's start by sounding 3 ohms. So together, empty your breath first. And let's inhale. Ah. And then release your hands. And we are gonna, I believe, slide right into Sphinx. So have you done yin yoga before, Joachim? Excellent. I'm sure it'll come back like riding a bike. So come into Sphinx pose. You want to have your elbows just slightly in front of your shoulders. And at first you can kind of let your shoulders drop up into your ears. It's like the turtle version of Sphinx. And then just feel that how weird it feels having your head like in your trapezius, but it kind of, you can nearly imagine it's like a backwards massage. And then you're going to pull your shoulder blades down. And at first it feels like a lot of effort. Maybe you need to slide your elbows slightly forward to make it a little less effort, but then feel like you can settle in. You can let your legs be as wide as the yoga mat. If your lower back is kind of not oversensitive, if you tend to be a little bit more sensitive in your lower back, you can bring your legs closer together. And you can even come down so that your rib cage touches the ground. And close your eyes. And just take a couple unhurried breaths, feeling into the shape of this posture. Our concentration today is going to be on the kidneys and the urinary bladder. But just like playing music on any instrument, really, you play one note and all the other notes reverberate through the instrument. Maybe just noticed whether you are alone or with the audience at home or here in the room, how the sounds of our ohms kind of vibrate, reverberate through space. And it's so, I think it's one of the nicest things about being in person is to have this experience of feeling sound of other people in your body. I always get that with the ohms. And just while we're here in this pose, or I mean, even for the whole class, why not? Like the understanding of a child where there is such easy curiosity. Maybe invite that curiosity into how your body is today. sometimes we can get so upside down that we feel like our body is something that's happening to us instead of a vital way that we understand the world and can manifest, ultimately changing the world just through our being in our physical body, living fully through it and understanding through it. So we both put out and receive. Now take 10 more slow, unhurried breaths. And after your 10th breath, just relax down onto the yoga mat. Because there's no like soft, fluffy couches here for us to chill out on. You're welcome to wiggle your hips. If you're in the room here, you hear this like kind of low beat dance music starting to pump up just to bring balance to our yin class. If you lost count, feel free to fake it and just come down to the ground. And then we're going to have a little yang moment. You're going to slide your hands underneath your shoulders, tuck your toes under, pull your belly to your spine. And if you're feeling really yangy, you can just go right up into plank or just lift up into downward facing dog, just as that transition. And bring your knees forward. And we're going to sit down onto our butt, our collective butt. Now everyone has one, okay? And come into a cross-legged position, but with your feet too, not a cross-legged, with your feet in front of you, but with your feet together. And then slide your feet out. So it's about how they're 2 hands length away from your groin. Grab onto your shins. First things first, lift your heart up, drop your head back, maybe take a full breath in, sigh it out. And then take another full breath in and soften, rolling down, letting your head drop towards your feet. And you might get your skull kind of cradled by the soles of your feet, or maybe you're just hanging your head, but relax your hands, relax your mouth, relax your tongue. So the way we add to our curiosity in our yin practice is that we want to, it's like do the opposite of everything we've learned in our yang practice. So instead of pushing, we're just going to soften here, backing off from the push, from the effort. We've already taken the time to get into the shape that suits our body today. And then the other thing, which I think is wildly fun and a really, a great rebel act in our patriarchally driven society these days, is in our postures, we're going to take it slow. And it's nearly like smiling in Stockholm, but like the fact that you can be a punk just by slowing down is so wonderful. I think it's so great. Like you don't even have to go out and like march or do something or go really fast or do something scary. No, just take your time, slow down, and be really in this moment. a radical act. So the kidneys and the urinary bladder. Intuitively, we know they're connected to water. And you actually know a lot more about the kidneys, just even intuitively, before, from stories or expressions, before we even move into what we know from our kind of rudimentary understanding of very, I don't know how to say this politely, limited science. And what is cool to imagine is actually you intuitively also know a lot about the spiritual science of your kidneys and your urinary bladder. But most of the time, we actually just don't have the sophistication in our language or our observation to directly hook these understandings together like a fluid story. Notice if you can actually soften a little bit more, or maybe even just say something kind to yourself in the tenderness of the pose. With your next inhale, you're going to roll up. And you might even have to help your knees back up. And you're going to take your right leg behind you, however it gets there. And we're going to really stand up onto our left foot. It's a very yangi pose. It's dragon pose. And we're going to take our left hand and bring it to the inside of our left foot, and then open up the toes in our left foot so they point out about 45 degrees-ish. And this is where we're going to hang out. Or if you have the openness to drop your elbows down to the ground, go for it. Or maybe you can just lie on the ground, whatever is possible. But just hanging out here is plenty possible. You can also let your foot roll open so that the bottom of your foot lifts up off the mat and your knee drops out to the side like a baby dragon wing. So anywhere in between. And if you know, with yin yoga, we stay longer than with yang. Typically, we stay about 5 minutes in a pose, but we don't stay in this pose for 5 minutes. So isn't that great? Instead of fearing how long we're going to stay here, see if you can be a little bit curious. So notice where the yin is in the pose, because it's a very fiery pose. But water, in its watery nature, wants to be in good relationship with fire, else it gets cold and kind of gross. Do you have questions?
No.
Okay. So
I have a question that if I go down like this, I can only be on one elbow. So it's this way.
I think it is. I think you're right. You can feel it in different parts.
Okay.
We can listen to the other yoga teacher. See? Perfect. So as Anna just demonstrated, the kidneys are connected to wisdom. And they're also connected to fear. So there will be, when we have, we want to start to understand archetypes or ideas around our bodies and our organs and our being that is connected not just to our physical, like blocked off little area of the earth, but is connected to the whole universe, to the whole cosmos. There is like a kidney energy. All right. You're like, are you kidding me? No, just kidding. Sorry. Take about, let's say 3 nice, full, deep breaths. And then maybe tuck your right toes under and switch your legs. It was a very yang moment for a yin class. You can do that 1,000 times slower if you want. You're going to take your right foot so it comes out to about 45 degrees. Stretch back with your left foot. And a good observation was sliding your knee back might help you get more relaxed with your elbows down to the ground. You can, like, the inside of your foot roll up. Let your baby dragon wing come out to the side if you want. All dragons kind of look a little different. And at first, just get, curious again. It's a little bit like introducing yourself to this shape today in you. Allowing ourselves to come back to some of these really fundamental explorations. How cool is it that different shapes, even in our physical body that we put ourselves into, whether it's yoga or twister, evoke different experiences for us. It's nobody's phone, it's somebody outside, I'm pretty sure. So the kidneys are coupled together with the urinary bladder. And in this case, or in all the cases, the urinary bladder is the, okay, let me back up. I screwed that sentence up majorly. Kidneys, urinary bladder, they're the organ pair. And we know that the kidneys are the yin organ. And we know that mostly because most of us have been in my class too many times. No, many wonderful times before. But also through many different disciplines, whether through occult physiology or traditional Chinese medicine. The urinary bladder in this case would be the yang organ. And so when we look at the kidneys, we're looking not only at the physical behavior, but how it affects all the different layers of our being. So the physical, energetic, emotional, mental, and even spiritual. I don't want to rush the left side. I was in a yoga class not too long ago that the left side was robbed every single posture, and it just made me feel very weird. So take about 3 more breaths. It's okay if it's lopsided, but not every pose. We're very lopsided in our day, throughout the day. Then after your 3rd cycle, tuck your toes under. And this time move from plank just all the way down to the ground. Again, you can wiggle your hips side to side if you want to release the tension in your lower back. You can even do, and this is a little weird if we're Swedish in the room together, you can take a big inhale and with your exhale just moan. Oh, the feelings. Yeah, beautiful. Self-expressed. And that was really good. And then come up onto your elbows and decide, how is your seal today? Is your seal going to look exactly like a sphinx? Or maybe you can stretch your arms out and take them a little wide, or walk them even closer to your hips if your spine is a little bendy. wherever your seal is supposed to be. And the cool thing is that once you've made your choice, you can never again choose something. No, I'm just kidding. You can change it if you need to. Seals? Cell. I thought that was soul. Whale is soul. That's so cool. It makes like a whole new sound air thing in your mouth. Anyways. Whale. What's seal in German? Seele? Yeah. See if you can relax your jaw, relax your tongue. So the kidneys. So in writing, in literature, in poems, in stories, I mean, even verbal traditions, oral traditions, in so many different cultures, we hear this phenomena of how the urinary bladder or the kidneys are kind of referred to when someone gets scared. I got so scared I pissed my pants. You know, like the fact that we have this fear reaction. In traditional Chinese medicine, the adrenals are connected to the kidneys as well. So that when they're looking at the kidney processes, they've really come at the organ, not from the physical matter first, but how these different processes work in the body. And so that's why they're coupled together. The adrenals sit on top of the kidneys, kind of like little party hats.
Oh, it's the adrenals, they're
Nyrorna are kidneys.
Yeah.
Binyrorna, jag tror det faktiskt. Ja. So I think so. So great. In Swedish, they already knew. But in China, I'm sure in Chinese, it also makes sense. But in English, to me, it didn't make sense intuitively that the adrenals were part of it. But what you might not hear from the language, that also the testes and the ovaries are part of the kidney system, which is something we don't often connect to it. But the adrenals play much more into this fight or flight reaction than I guess our ovaries and testes might play into that too, because that it does tend to draw us certain directions. But the adrenals are much more reactive and sudden and fast. I never really, yeah, anyways. But the adrenals are much more connected to fear in our experience so far. Maybe we'll get back to this idea than our ovaries and testes. But I gotta say, there's something really intriguing where there's in this idea of being curious, like, you know, can we find a new understanding of our, you know, ovaries and testes through understanding the kidneys? But in literature, they haven't alluded to it that much yet. I'm going to do some more exploration here. But I think this close relationship to fear is so, it's so wonderful that it doesn't come out of like, I mean, maybe it does, but like, it's not like some really smart guy, like figuring it all out and sitting by himself and like, you know, it's through different cultures, it's through different artistic expressions that people have put this together to describe the physical sensation of fear so that we get it in our storytelling. So we get it in our, you know, our understanding on a much, much deeper level than just intellectual facts about the kidneys. We have about a minute left, so you might decide like, wow, my seal's getting very intense. But maybe play with the idea of what it's like to be a seal. They have a lot of fat. I mean, and all of you are quite slim today in class. So just like, what is that? Like that, those layers of fat, they keep you warm and they keep you protected. It's kind of like bumper cars. You can probably bump into things and you bump right back. And then lift up a little bit, engage your abdominals, and slowly lower yourself down to the ground. Stack your forearms this time and bring your forehead just to rest on your forearms. Maybe wiggling your hips side to side or bending your knees and windshield wipering your legs side to side, or dancing in the air with your legs. And then let yourself come to stillness if you haven't already. And then you're going to bring your hands underneath your shoulders again and come up onto your hands and knees. And let's start with the left leg and bring your heel forward. Yeah, you're really excited about this, aren't you? Okay, I could tell, I could tell. You're going to put your heel forward and you're going to bring your hips over your knee. And just for a moment, bend your left knee. Engage your foot by flexing your foot and try to pull the outside of your hip a little bit back. It's a little weird, but it's a very small little action. Beautiful. And then relax back into pulling your hip back. And you can either stay here or maybe you can start to drop your head down towards your knee. Now, if you are a dancer and you live in a flexible open body, maybe Bernadette, you can just stretch your legs out and come into full splits. Hashtag I've done yoga for 21 years, 22 years. So wherever you're at. The hips are squared there. Yes, Anna. Mm-hmm. So, and even in your splits, they might not be perfectly squared, but they're moving towards squared if they're not actually. Now, see if you can make peace with the pose. So where can you be soft and open and welcoming? Yeah, I know. It's not where you usually want to be. It's like, this is extreme. So allow yourself just to hang out there a little bit. You know that, I mean, maybe you don't know. We're not going to stay here 5 minutes. Unless you really want to. So allow the intensity, like recognize it, feel it. One of the crazy things that they teach in Chinese medicine is that if you try to avoid pain, it'll be worse. So our experience of it actually can diminish it. So take 5 more full, deep breaths. Beautiful, Ceci. And then bring yourself into child's pose before we do the other side. Isn't that lovely? So let your head come down. So with the adrenals, this fight or flight or freeze reaction, it's one of those reactions that happens at such a deep core level, like it's fast. It's not something you've contemplated and thought about and researched and find the right reaction for. It happens like without the contemplation, it happens really quickly. Which is interesting because like in general, the things we relate to yin move more slowly, or we don't observe them moving. I guess that in a way you could nearly say that. We don't understand how all of a sudden we get scared and we're running before we even think about what happened. So I guess we don't really see the change happen either. All right, come back up to your hands and knees. We have another amazing leg. This is going to be so great. So let's take our right leg forward. Ooh, hello, beautiful. And bring your heel, lift your foot. Bring your left hip over your left knee. And again, just to find this alignment, you're going to bend your knee a little bit and then see if you can pull the outer side of your thigh back to towards your right hip. So you're pulling like the outer side of your hip back. Yes. And then soften and relax into it, and your head drop towards your knee. Now I'm really tight on my right side compared to my left side. Thank goodness it's the afternoon. We tend to be flexible in the afternoon, but not quite as strong, and strong in the morning, but not quite as flexible. We're not very used to thinking of our bodies as that sensitive, but they are. Just like when you're warm in the summer, you're more flexible than you are in the winter. In anthroposophy, we learn about how the elemental beings, in winter retreat down into the earth. So, I don't think we don't lose our elemental being of our body, but that it's in this retreat mode too during the cold of winter. It's an interesting thought. And we're going to do exactly the same amount of time we did on the other side. And, it's so wonderful. I was once teaching a yoga class actually in this big hall, and there was 2 students in the room and me, maybe 3, but one of them was my now husband. And I think there'd been like a challenge or something, and he came in and it was very provoking. So I was like, and put them into meditation right away so I could kind of collect myself and bring myself. It was a reaction nearly, not quite fight or flight, but I was like, okay. And after like about 3 minutes, I brought them back out. And then afterwards we talked about it. And I asked them, how long do you think you were in meditation? And one person thought 5 minutes, one person thought like 15 minutes. Like it was so varied that I feel very free about like how to teach even the yin poses. All right, now tuck your back toes under, or whatever, shake it out, move it out a little bit if you want, just bending them, straightening one knee at a time. And then we're gonna come actually onto our butt. So bring your feet forward. It's exciting. I'm doing a little roundabout version this week. So legs straight out in front of you, and you're gonna separate your feet so your legs are a little wider apart, so that you can imagine your ribs are going to come down in between your thighs one day. So first things first, we have to imagine it's possible. Now, the same as we just did that little exercise with the leg, we're going to come into this pose very mindfully, in a more active way, and then relax once we're in the pose. So this is a way to protect your back. If you need to, you could roll up the back of your yoga mat to help lift up your hips, bringing your upper body over your pelvis. And then it's like you're tilting your pelvis forward. Now take your hands next to your legs and discover that you have spiders on the bottom of your hands, and you're going to walk your hands as far forward as they'll go without curving and relaxing your back. Beautiful. Now lift up your heart, wiggle your butt back, and see that you can actually take your spiders further than you thought you could. Now lift up your heart, wiggle your butt back, and then see maybe you can even take your hands beyond your feet. Whatever, see if you have another lift and wiggle. And once you're out of lift and wiggles, no more lift and wiggles to give, relax and drop your head down. Soften into this place. So our spine has 8 layers of myofascia, 8 layers of ligament around your vertebrae. 8 layers, so cool. And when we have a straight spine, they don't have to move that much. They don't have to stretch that much. But when we relax our back into a curve, that's when the ligament needs to participate. And so that's why we stay in our yin poses for at least 2.5 minutes, because it's around that time that the ligament goes, oh, like, you serious, man? And like, you can actually feel this moment where it just lets go a little bit. And it's not because it's been yanked hard, it's because it's been just gently and persistently and consistently pulled at. So very opposite from this gut reaction. It's smooth, it's slow, it's intentional. In traditional Chinese medicine, as well as in all, all good medical or health experts, perspective, like, it's balance that is health. And that's one of the wonderful things that actually makes it such a unique story to you, because what will balance you out isn't the same thing that will balance me out. And what's cool, if we think about that, is like, there's something about our individuality and our very nature of spirit in our physical bodies that makes such a difference that our physical bodies can't be treated the same way as other physical bodies. Because if it was just this, simple science, natural, not natural, unnatural derivative science, then we'd all be fixed by the same, missing building blocks added to our system. But because there is something that is absolutely unique to you in how you live in your body, how your spirit is in the world, how these soft, invisible elements of you they actually affect what will be medicine for you. And this idea of balance is innate to everything around the system of the kidneys and the urinary bladder. Because like the kidneys are ruled by water, so therefore in a wonderful and intimate relationship with fire, the kidneys are in charge of balancing this yin and yang qualities throughout every element of our life. So in our life, like in our lifespan from youth to old age, it's the kidneys that rule that maturation. In our, in our cycles, like as a woman in the men's cycles, and all of it, like the cycles of moving from child to teenager to old man. And the cycle of like the Krebs cycle, the cycle of breathing in and out, the cycle of how food comes into our body and is leaves our body transformed. Like all of these different cycles, the kidneys work on and affect. Now with your next inhale, start to roll up. You're going to bend your knees and you're going to have your fingers spinning back towards your hips. And you're going to lift up your hips and drop your head back. And then you're going to stick out your tongue and you're going to look at your third eye and you're going to whisper and yell like a lion. So you go, lion's roar. 2 more times. 1 more time. And then bring your hips back down. You might need a little. No, but if you don't have a furry chin, you might have to wipe off your chin. And now we're going to go into lying on our back. And you're going to bend your knees. And you're going to go in a little bit of a slow motion. Like, I'm not really sure if she wants me to lie on my back or not. Or I just want to do a really soft hula before I get down to the ground here. Awesome. Now lift up your feet and you're going to come into happy baby. Beautiful. And you can just kind of hold on to the insides of your feet, or you hook your fingers on your toes. I see that's the choice tonight. But if you take your feet on the insides, it can be even more relaxed and passive. Yes. And if you're very flexible, sissy, and you have the space, you can also extend your legs, but you want to make sure that your toes come down to the floor, lined up with your ears. So I touched on this thing of how the kidneys are connected to fear. And when they're out of balance, it's our whole kidney system that actually heightens our experience of fear in our own being. And so it's not some like existential fear and like, oh, my kidneys are out of whack. No, it's whatever fear that you are like attached to and connected to and holding on to. So if it's your fear of spiders, it'll be worse if your kidneys are not doing well. If it's your fear of commitment, totally worse, you know, like it's whatever your go-to fears are that are activated. And because we know it's a dynamic system, we have so many different inroads in how to balance out a fear reaction in ourselves. So we have, of course, the physical. One of the most helpful things for the kidneys usually is drink warm water and stay warm. You know, you can feel that you're adding this fire element back together with the kidneys. So they're not fighting with each other. They're working together. On a more energetic level, you know, even just breathing and slowing down your breath can help your fear lower in your body. You can also be so radical that you can meditate. Or before we go into meditation, maybe it is a kind of meditation. One of my natural responses when I'm really scared, and this is usually, mind you, when I'm by myself in the middle of the woods or alone at home or in my car, I'll sing. That's what kills me, my fear. All right, hug your knees to your chest. I'm gonna lift up your face and just kiss your knees. Thank you for getting you this far. Mm-hmm. And then relax your head down, and you're gonna bring both your knees to your left, or maybe if you want, you can extend your your left leg. But bring one or two knees to your left, coming into a twist. So in our twists, we want to make sure that our knees are level with our hips and not lower than our hips. And then either we look straight up at the ceiling or you look to your right. You can also lower your right hand so it's lower than your shoulder, and with your palm facing the ground, then very subtly that relaxing of your arm lets your shoulder blade drop to the ground more, your right shoulder blade. So you can meditate, you can actually direct your own thinking, not only to meditate and concentrate on something else, but you can also use even, you can with fears especially, they take hold of us in this, again, this unconscious way. And when we sometimes like work into them with logic and a little bit of reason, sometimes that can help abate a fear, but more when it's not like a chronic phobia. So we can actually use our wisdom of experience and insight and understanding and even our faith to work on changing our reaction into making a more positive action. And that is really part of where this bridge happens. So when our kidneys or our urinary bladder or the connecting elements to that, such as like the adrenals or the ovaries and the testes, if they're challenged in some ways, our fear will naturally be heightened. On the other hand, when our system is really in balance and we're thriving and we're doing well and feeling good, what our kidney supports in us is wisdom. And this real connection to a sense of belonging. That we're in the right skin. That we're in our right role in our community. And yes, Ceci? Beautiful. Well, it's great because I really want kittens, but I can't have cats in my house because my sister's husband is really, really allergic. So if we have cats in our house, she can never stay with us, and that's just not okay, even if she never comes. So wonderful to have 3 kittens here. And a wonderful way of, belonging. Feeling like you're in the right place with the right people at the right time is a spiritual practice. So you can have, when you have these moments where you're like, oh, I feel awesome. And you notice like, oh, I'm in the right place, the right time with the right people. Yay. But the cool thing is we can use it as a tool when it's not feeling true. And remind ourselves, oh my goodness, it doesn't feel this way, but I'm in the right place with the right people at the right time. How is this my opportunity instead of my detriment or punishment? There is something so exquisitely difficult in changing our mind or using our own creativity in our thinking to help us, to work on us. Just like, how often do we remember at the right time, oh, I should really just try to slow my breathing down to minimize my own fear or deepen my breathing. All right, come back to center, hugging your knees in. If you want, you feel free to hug your knees in, lift your beautiful face and kiss your knees. Thank you again. Maybe sending your kiss to your elemental body being, your elemental being. All right, and then take your knees to the other side. Take a couple moments to kind of get used to this shape, to take the breaths and feel how it feels different. Inviting again this curiosity as part of our practice of self-realization. My friend Orlin Bishop talks about how our organ. Oh, now I'm going to say, I don't know if I can't remember it right. It's both true if you say it one way or the other. And he, I believe, said, we have to remember this idea that and I'm hesitating because I can't remember if he said planets or organs. But one of the wonderful things about studying spiritual science is you start to understand you can say both and mean both. But that our organs, in their connection to the archetypal, in their connection to the planets, they are designed to awaken consciousness in us. So again, this idea of our body isn't something that is happening to us, but it is with us and part of our creativity, part of our decisions, and even part of our karma. So this act of participating in being your own medicine, of changing your thinking or slowing down your breath or being kind on purpose, or being quiet on purpose. These different things, they require this primordial force in us, our will force. They require this absolute unique substance to you. When you look at a little baby, all they are is this like shining ball of light and will. Okay, yes, there's flesh and there's components, there's other things that happen. But just thinking about how a child's attention can land on you, and you can feel it, and the vibrancy and the vitality and the depth that is in that attention, where they willed their attention to. I mean, it's so cool because with that will, depending on where they find themselves, what parents, what family, what part of earth, a baby can learn any language. It has the capacity for that. And it's really their will that it allows this to be possible. We want to stay connected to this most fundamental part of ourselves. Nothing physical about it. It didn't exist until you were born. I just love it so much. I wasn't planning on going over this will element of it, but wills are they're totally connected to the kidneys. Both the yang will, this activation, penetration, and starting up that fiery will, but also this yin will, where it's that backwards, this ability to reflect, to contemplate, to see the light reflected, the information, the wisdom pouring at us from our own experience. And then roll back to center and stretch yourself out for Shavasana. For those of you in the room, I think I have 3 blankets. You have your own blanket? Excellent. Because I didn't say I have three, but one of them's a little. But would you like to use that? Would you like to use that, Anna? You got it. So covering up to be nice and warm. You might notice not only does yin yoga, it's so cool and so in right now, but it literally cools you down often. Find your way into Shavasana. Allowing the stillness to be in your body, but you keep your exquisite attention in your body and in the room. And in this way, if you're in the studio here, oh, what a wonderful blanket, Ceci. Yeah, I understand. But in the studio here, we have a lovely dance class with 10 and 12-year-olds. And maybe you have your own little grandchild climbing around during your Shavasana, but whatever it is, or maybe your boat's rocking, whatever you find is helping you actually stay present, there's no need to get pissed off of it. You can just instead say, oh, thank you. And allow it to be a tool for your Shavasana. With your next inhale, invite your breath to the edges of your body. Wiggle your toes and your fingers and maybe smile. With your inhale, you can stretch your body long, reaching your arms above your head. And with your exhale, you can curl into a ball. If it's comfortable for you, you can roll onto your side, or you can just roll straight up into a seated position. And then bring your hands to heart center. Feel the ground below you. Close your eyes. And you might not even know what everyone looks like. Just imagine other beings with you. Okay, humans. There's other beings too, but that's what I meant right now. And we're going to close our class with one Om. Empty your breath, and let's take an inhale together. Ah. Bring your prayer hands to your third eye. Invite the divine light. And as we bow forward together, we say, Namaste. So much love. Now make some noise. Oh, yeah. So this is a little bit of like, yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm awake. Yeah. Jai.